Oh, good evening and welcome again to the Literary Hour. I'm your co-host Jackie Sai, and with me is Dr. Kim Moses Nangwe, and we will be speaking today on life lessons from literature. Hi, Prof.
Hey, Jackie, it's nice coming back, and always look forward to this day, Friday.
Life's lessons from literature, right?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So I listened to you and Dennis last week when I came back from my trials. And sorry, Prof.
Yes.
And I really like the discussion about it brought back so many memories. And one of the things I shared with you was with Dylan Thomas's poem,
Yeah.
"Don't Go to the Good Night." And
I agree on
and
this.
I yes, I'm sorry, Prof. I read that poem, or I learned that poem when your father passed away.
Yeah.
I remember we're in your class, and when you taught us that poem, it was like you have to rage,
Yeah,
you
really.
know, don't just go, yeah. So when you read it, I it took me way back,
Mhm.
and it kind of like reinforced our message of how literature, words, poetry moves you. You know, it puts you in a place that sometimes you hear something so beautiful
Yeah.
and so beautifully put together that you're in awe. You know,
Yeah.
you just can't believe what you heard.
Yeah.
You know, and I remember distinctly where I was when I heard that poem. I mean, when I learned that poem. So it's always that poem is associated with you, believe it or not. No, no, really. You know, and one of the ones that is really for me very significant is "Stop All the Clocks" by Auden,
Yeah.
because that's the one I read at my father's funeral.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
You know,
Mhm.
yeah. And so for those who haven't read it, this is for educational purposes, so I don't think that there's any copyright issue there,
Mhm.
but I would like to read it.
Yeah.
And this one takes me to my father. So we're talking about poetry and how it moves you, not only poetry, but literary pieces.
Yeah.
So this is Deborah H. Auden's "Stop All the Clocks."
Mhm.
And he says, "Stop all the clocks, cut off the telephone, prevent the dog from barking with a juicy bone, silence the pianos, and with muffled drum, bring out the coffin,
Hmm.
let the mourners come.
Wow.
Let aeroplanes circle moaning overhead, scribbling on the sky the message,
Hmm.
he is dead.
Wow.
Put crib bows round the white necks of the public dogs. Let a traffic policeman wear black cotton gloves.
Hmm.
For he was my north, my south, my east, and my west,
Wow.
my working week and my Sunday rest,
Hmm.
my moon, my midnight, my talk, my song. I thought that love would last forever.
Hmm.
I was wrong. The
Wow.
stars are not wanted now. Put out everyone.
Hmm.
Pack up the moon and dismantle the sun.
Hmm.
Pour away the ocean and sweep up the wood, for nothing now can ever come to any good.
What?
So that poem is associated with my father because I
Hmm.
read it at my father's funeral.
And and
Stop
and
all the clock.
it was. I mean, listening to the words, it was really befitting. Uh, Something has gone amiss. My
Yeah,
world has come to a stop. That's what it means. Something has. It's like, hey, there's no jolly time now. Then there are certain phrases. There are certain phrases in that poem, or there are certain words in that poem that never so easily leave you, even if you cannot at some point regurgitate the entire poem. There are those words that come to you time and time again, or sometimes you hear them fleeting from other people, and that sends a message. And that is why
yeah,
sometimes it is said that the whole world is a metaphor. The whole world is a metaphor. Something may be the smell of some deodorant, maybe a way of laughter. Someone cachinnates, and it reminds you of another person and it pains you, in fact, so much when that person you are thinking about long left the world and what have you. It's it's deep. It's deep.
Yeah,
I
especially when he says he was my north, my south,
He was my
my
north.
my my waking moon and my noonday rest.
Wow.
I was like, this is, I mean, it encapsulates
It
everything that I thought my
encapsulates
father
everything. Yes.
was, or to
Mhm.
me. So yeah, I think that literary pieces take you places, and it makes you remember.
Yes.
Like you with Dylan Thomas, and don't go gently into
And
that
do
good
not go
night.
into that good
Yeah,
night. Rage,
that's
rage against the dying of the light.
yes, yes. So today we're going to have a nice, easy evening. We're going to
Yes.
talk about books and other works that kind of move us, and we're trying to stick to some that
Yeah.
that the audience knows, so that they can follow the conversation. And of course, those of you who are at LU
Mm.
doing Prof. Nangwe time, and Mr. Lawson, Dr. Twamina, Mr. Vafley, there are so many poems that we learned that we're going to talk about. So we're going to talk about one that uh, somebody wrote last week when you were talking, the road not taken, or they call it now two roads.
There are two roles. Uh-huh.
That's a very significant poem,
Yes.
Prof.
And it's more of decision taking,
Yeah,
taking decisions
yeah.
and what have you. It's found on page I with my book here, page let's see, uh, page 553. Let's see if I can get to it, and then we talk about it as well.
Okay.
553. Talking about literature, you know, if I say something and people will say, because I came to literature at a very early age of my life, I came to understand, even if in a basic way, I came to understand the importance more of the human person than the color of the skin. And so, when I grew up and all that, and some race would say, "Oh, I am better than the other race," I would just laugh and what are you and say, this person doesn't know what he or she is talking about. A human being is a human being. So if you want to add something to it just to make yourself feel good, that's your business. But literature taught me all along that humanity is just one. So here is
Yep.
the poem titled The Road Not Taken by, of course, we know Robert Frost. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both and be one traveler. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other as just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay in leaves no step had trodden blithe. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this ages and ages hence, with a sigh. Somewhere ages, two roads diverged in the woods, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference.
I like that poem. Because it's like, it's, but what I don't understand, he said they were both the same, just
Uh-huh,
as fair,
uh-huh,
right? So it's like if you have two people and you want to choose which one to go out with,
uh-huh,
but they're just as fair,
uh,
right? But he says one road leads to another, so you might
yeah,
not come back,
yes,
because if you say, okay, I'll if it doesn't work out, I'll come back. But then let's say you marry, you have children, so the road goes on to another
yeah,
road, to another road, to another road. But it's so funny, Prof, how a simple thing like roads,
yeah,
two roads diverged in a
mhm,
wood,
yeah, yeah.
wood. I mean, this poem is so timeless.
Yes. And the thing about it is that when it gets to the point, when it gets to the point about since way leads on to way,
To
then of
wait,
course there
yes.
are certain phrases, there are certain words that will tell you, no, this poem is not what? It's not a a simple poem. There's something about since way leads on to way, I doubt if I'll ever come back. In other words, hey, all of a sudden, this thing about life is set in place right there before you and me. Yes, that, well, you get to a point, especially we get to the fork of a road, and that brings in this whole element of being convoluted. Uh,
Yes.
yes, and there is the point of what do I do now? What do I do now?
Yeah, yeah. So
And
because he
then,
says long, oh, long I stood.
yes,
Yes,
long I stood. Mhm.
yes.
And
So
then,
he
of
took his
course,
he took his own time.
yes, he took his own time to look there, and then of course he decided he was going to take the one less traveled by, the one less traveled by. So this we see this person as being a nonconformist.
Yes.
Yes, this guy is independent of mind, or this girl. It will not be just girl. She rolls her eyes. Yes, this person is a nonconformist. This person does not want to go or travel the road that so many people
So
have.
many other people,
Yes,
yes.
yes, yes.
Yes.
I want to be myself. I'm going to take this one. I know that in the end, decisions maybe are decisions, or life is just life. And if I take this one, at the end, the thing about I shall be telling this ages and ages hence.
With a sigh.
With a sigh. Hmm? I shall be telling this with a sigh, age somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. Whatever difference has that made? Well, that I've made this choice, and that's it. Hmm?
Prof, that poem is as people really like that poem.
Yeah.
Because it's about decision making,
Yes.
and it's about life, actually life choices.
Yes.
I
Life
mean,
choice.
this poem can appeal to anything. It can
Yeah.
appeal to a relationship. It can
Yeah.
appeal to a road. It could be as simple as a road.
Mhm.
I mean, many times when I'm walking in the forest, I think I've posted, I'm
Mhm.
like, two roads, because which one should I go?
Two
But
roads.
but it, it
Yeah.
but people, they for some reason they don't, um you see, Robert Frost had this knack of talking about everyday things
Yes, every day. That's you
and
got
making
it.
it
Yeah.
so
Hmm.
significant in
Yeah.
some way,
Yes.
because one of the other poems that he wrote, stopping by the woods on a snowy
Yeah. Yeah.
evening,
Yes. Yes. Yes.
you
Yes.
know and
Yes.
he stops, and you read the poem and like, okay, he stopped by the woods and he's looking at this house,
Uh-huh.
and he says, I wonder who lives there. And he said
Yeah.
his horse
Yes.
is saying, but what a man doing? Why are you not going? The horse
Yeah.
must think it's queer,
Yeah. Yeah.
for me to be standing here.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But then he says,
That
but
is
I
about
have promises to keep and miles to go before
before
I sleep, and miles to go before
before
I
I
sleep.
sleep.
You know? And so when I read that poem, I'm like, stopping by the woods on a snowy evening, looking at this house and wanting to go in, for me, it's
Mhm.
like you come to a point in your life, you say, oh man, I'm tired,
Yeah.
but that you have promises to keep.
Yes.
And
The-
then that miles to go before I sleep is like you have many years before
Yeah.
death.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think the sleep is death. And
Yes.
he's saying, no, 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 I can't rest right
Mhm.
now.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
know? So
Yeah.
I think that's a very significant poem that people read the road not taken, but stopping by the woods on a snowy evening is also a very good poem.
And the whole thing about the energy, they resolve to not be distracted
Yes,
by
yes,
things around, things that will keep you from going, whatever. So again, that poem happens to be a poem of resolve. You
yes.
are determined to. You can talk about education as well. I remember, growing up, there were colleagues of mine, peers of mine who thought, this um, issue about women was just running away, and therefore they devoted more time to how many women they would chase and all that kind of thing. And after a while, I look back and I couldn't see many of them. And then you get to a point where you've achieved what you have to achieve, or at least significantly achieve what you want to achieve. And then others says, how you manage, my man, how you manage? We were all in this thing. And say, well, then I have to quote, I had promises to keep and miles to go before I
And
slept.
master go before I
Yeah,
sleep.
before I slept. So like you said, he uses ordinary things to speak to the profound aspect of nature and what of life, mending fences and what have you, apple and peaches, as he has all over there. So he has a lot of these peaches. He has all these poems that uh, you know deal with common things, and yet they tell a whole big story. And probably that is how profound you want to find artists, you want to find poets to capture the environment and use them as teaching tools, teaching materials, and what have you. Something along the nature of Christ. Christ used parables to tell profound stories about life.
Yeah, so that's why we're trying to stick to poems that most people know,
Yeah.
so that we can have the conversation going. So Robert Frost is one that
Mhm.
really takes the everyday
Mhm.
and make it monumental in a way.
Yes.
Monumental, yeah, yeah. So one of the poems that I think people I actually thought it was by Chinua Achebe. The
Uh-huh.
center cannot hold.
Okay,
You
okay.
know,
No,
yeah,
no.
I didn't know it was by Yeats,
Yes,
the
yes,
second coming.
yeah.
Yeah. But
Young
people,
Buffalo Yeats.
people, 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 that poem, if you look at it, if you analyze it, that's beast that is slouching to
Yeah,
Bethlehem.
yes.
That's the beast in Revelation that will bring the end of the world.
Uh-huh.
That's not no Jesus second coming. Yeah, and then he talked about the best lack all conviction,
Hmm.
right? While the worst are full of passionate intensity,
Oh my God.
right? Yeah. So the people who's supposed to know
Uh-huh.
and speak out against what is happening, they
Yeah,
lack conviction.
yeah.
And the people who don't know, they're all
Mhm.
over the place,
Yes, all
you
over the
know?
place, making a lot of noise,
Yeah.
all that. Yes.
But why they are running up and down with all of this, that beast is slouching to be born in
Yeah.
Bethlehem,
Mhm.
and the beast is not Jesus.
Mhm.
The way he describes it is the second coming is
Mhm.
that this beast is what they talk about in Revelation.
Yes.
So the center cannot hold because
Mhm.
where anarchy is loose on the
Yeah.
world is
Yeah.
because the
Yes.
foundation was never strong in the first
No,
place.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So what does the second coming mean to you, Prof?
No, it's it's I see it partly as revisitation of the core things of life, revisitation of the core things of life, which if you don't revisit, you continue to wallow in despair. You continue to wallow in things that are kind of even going to bring destruction on your own self and what have you. Talking about revelation and all that, if you go to the story of Nostradamus, this guy who it is said made a lot of prophecies and all that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Another aspect of it is that in a time when you have leaders that are brutal and profane, those who have the capacity to think and what have you, what they release is more in metaphorical language. And that is what you find in books like Revelation and a few others that attempted to a kind of prophesize what was going to happen in the world. So when you look at it and you think, that is why, for instance, I know others will get offended when I say that. That is why when every day something monumental happens and the next thing is, and Christ said it, the word is coming to an end for truth. Christ never even said the word is coming to an end. But every little thing.
What did he say?
Yeah.
What did Christ say?
No, Christ said he didn't even know. He said, I don't know. The angels of heaven don't know. It is only my Father who knows when the word will come to an end. That's what Christ said. So when
because he said it would be like a thief in the night.
You see, so you talk about a Black Death in 1200 to 1300. Black Death, when it came upon the place there and people were dying left and right and whatever, they said, well, I think the word is coming to an end. But did the word end? Of course, the word didn't end, and since then it has never ended. So the best we can do for ourselves is to reach for critical thinking skills and what have you, and kind of comport ourselves. That's all it is. Whatever is going to come is going to come. To kind of bother about that so much until to lose ourselves is sometimes one of the tragic things that will happen to us, because at some point when we are exasperated, we want to even take our lives and what have you, because I talk about being hope deficient. If you are hope deficient, the next thing you want to do is to just kill yourself, and you don't want to do that.
And like you say, in literature is almost, like you say, a revisioning, and a revisiting. Because if you look at what's happening in the world, you just like, oh, okay, this, you can even say, oh yeah, this has happened before in Merchant of Venice. It has happened before in Caesar. It happened before in Macbeth. It has happened before, it's like, there's nothing new under the sun.
The Bible itself says that,
yeah. Because for me, when I see the posturing, I always say Ozymandias, people who don't know will say, what do you mean? And I say, oh, go read Ozymandias, and we used to do that a lot. Because for people who don't know Ozymandias by Percy Shelley, right?
Shelley.
So there's this I think Egyptian king who had built this huge monument to himself. He was the bee's knees. He was like, and this thing was so huge. And so this stranger is coming in the desert, and the stranger sees this monument or this statue. But the statue is broken down, and then it says, he said 2 vast and trunkless legs of stone stand in the desert. And then near them, and so he described, and then he said, tell that its sculpture, he said, yet survive, the hand that mocked them, and the heart that fed. So this person who thought he was something, that he will be, he will never die. He was the ruler, and he could give life and death. So he built this huge statue for people to look at him and say, I am something. And this statue has broken down. And on the inscription it says, I am Ozymandias, King of Kings. Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair. So it's like this man who was going to say, who's going to die? Who's going to live? And he thought that he would never die. And now look, you have nothing left, So every time I think of Ozymandias, I'm like,
There we go again,
There we go again.
And then we come to our own man, Edwin Barclay,
Yeah.
the last lines of his human greatness.
Of human greatness, yeah.
Oh, history. Upon that glowing page, time writes her judgment, but she writes in vain.
Even.
For symbols, man misreads in every age and gainers then for legacies of pain. Then why live off woman your heart in pride?
Thou art but
Even
dust.
thou art but dust. And
And
even
even Caesar
Caesar,
died.
and
And that's our
even
own poet.
yes,
That's our whole Liberian poet. Yes,
and
Prof.
even and even yes,
Somebody could take Ozymandias
yes,
and Edwin Barclay,
yeah,
right? Edwin Barclay, our own poet, our
yes,
president, right? He was
yes,
president,
yes,
and put them together. Yeah,
yes.
here is Ozymandias. In
Mm,
fact, Edwin Barclay is we say to Ozymandias,
yes.
why are you lifting up your
The
heart in
heart is
proud,
pride.
in
You
pride?
are but dust.
Thou art but dust, and
And
even
even
Caesar
Caesar
died.
died.
Oh, Prof, that's
And even Caesar died. Okay.
and
Caesar,
people should, yes,
yeah.
Caesar.
And they get to that
People should,
point. But who was this Caesar? And then, of course, they go to the Roman Empire and talk about
yes, you know.
Julius Caesar and all that. Mhm.
So Caesar should be uh this poem should be taught in schools. It is not, because it's our own.
Yeah,
It's our own.
our
Yeah,
and of course,
that was
you
just
can see sometimes because he himself he had a rough against Tubman. Now,
yes,
if you go to that
yes.
story, he thought, they always say that ambition, humility is the ladder by which ambition climbs.
Yeah.
And so when Tubman was kind of cajoling him and all that kind of thing, and then he said, okay, I'll make the president. So it got to a point I said, and you will do this? Yes, I will do it. Well, Chief, I will do it. And I will do the work. It wasn't long after Thomas got in the place that he started whipping the old man. Whipping the old man, it was not easy, When he tried to come back in 1955, yes, 51 was Thomas and 51 was Thomas and Detroit. And then, he came by and said, this thing here, Thomas, this is not what you are told us you are going to do. And so I want my position, but Thomas said, where? And you will come, I will whip you. I will whip
So,
you.
so that poem, he telling Tubman, he said, hey, you even Caesar can die, so you will die.
No, actually, to face the fact, really, Thomas really disgraced the old man. He really disgraced the old man. It was not funny. What? My own Peking, who even shine my shoes, that he get over there now and he doing all this thing to me as for politics.
So so other poems. Let's move on to other poems.
There's a poem in which a child who has come of age is looking back now and really feeling sorry that all that his father did to warm the house and get him warm clothes and all that kind of a thing, he was stubborn about it. He was aloof. He didn't take the whole thing in until at a more advanced age now. And this is by Robert Hayden, Hayd and Robert Hayden, and it's
Okay.
called those winter Sundays. Those winter Sundays. Yes, yes. Sundays too. My father got up early and put his clothes on in the blue black cold. Then, with cracked hands that ached from labor in the weekday weather, made banked fire blaze. No one ever thanked him. I'd wake and hear the coal splintering, breaking. Then the rooms were warm, he'd call. And slowly I will rise and dress, fearing the chronic angers of that house. Speaking indifferently to him who had driven out the cold and polished my good shoes as well. What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? What did I know? What did I know of love's austere and lonely offices? What did I know what my old man was going through?
Yes.
Going through the cold. Even throughout the week, he worked, yet he will get something going for us. And all that he did, I didn't pay him any mind. I didn't.
And that's what they say.
Gratitude, yes.
They say, you shouldn't, your parents shouldn't die until you yourself become a parent. No, really, because then you almost want to bow down to your parents.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. It's true. Yeah.
What did you know?
Yeah. What did I know? What did I know?
It's again, this whole idea of gratitude. What does it cause you to say thank you, mommy, thank you, daddy, or thank you, uncle, thank you, aunt, or like we say, thank you, auntie?
Or they have like what is it? Wordsworth. Tell me not in mournful numbers.
Life is what I am to drink.
Who don't know that? Who don't know that? Oh, shoot. Who don't know that? Who don't know that poem?
Yeah.
Tell me not in mournful numbers. Life is but an empty dream.
For the soul
is dead that slumbers, and things are not what they seem.
Life is real. Life is earnest.
Life is earnest. Dust thou art, to dust returneth, was not spoken of the soul. Trust no future, however pleasant.
Trust no future, however pleasant.
Let the dead past bury its dead. Trust in the living present.
Yes.
Men beneath and God overhead.
Yes.
See, we remember some of them.
Yes. That's in fact, that poem has so many things in it. And then at some point you say, act in living presence, heart within and God overheads. Lives of women all remind us that we can make our lives sublime and departing, leave behind us footprints on the sense of
time.
Footprints that have seeing shall take out again.
Yes.
Let us be up and doing with a heart for any faith, still achieving, still pursuing, learn to labor, learn to wait.
Learn to wait. That's the thing that we don't know how to do, to learn to wait. Yeah.
Keep working, but learn to labor, learn to wait. Yes.
Yeah. One of the poems that I really like is Ulysses.
Yeah.
And Ulysses, I like it because there's a portion in there I can't I can read it. It says, though much is taken, much abides. And though we are not now, that strength which in old days moved heaven and earth, that which we are.
Yes.
One equal temper of heroic hearts, made weak by time and fate, but strong in will, to strive, to seek, to find, and not to yield.
Yes.
And that was when Ulysses, with his crew, they were giving up. They were tired from being on the ocean. They finished session, they're tired. And he said, though we are not of the same strength that move heaven and earth, that which we are, we are. And then he says, to seek, to strive, and not to yield. It's almost like you fighting life every day.
Yeah.
You're not, and you say, that I'm not young again.
Yeah.
Right? And he said, we are not now that strength,
Mhm.
which in the old days moved heaven and earth.
Yes.
Because you know how when we were young, oh, we thought we were the bee's knees. And he
Oh,
says, we are not that, we're not of that strength.
yeah. It
But we what we are.
yes.
I
It is.
love that book.
Yes. It is very. That's actually these names. They have the Greek uh, version. They have the Roman version. The Roman version.
Mhm.
This is you talk about Odysseus. Really, Odysseus.
Odysseus, yeah.
Yes. Uh, it reminds me of what he says to Nestor. They get to a point, they've rested enough, and they want to move on. And he, Odysseus, goes around and he's telling people to get up, and he gets to Nestor. And Nestor, he says, "Oh, I wish the old days would come by." And then Nestor says something. He said, "The gods do not give all their gifts to one person at the same time."
Yeah.
In other words, what we did, but now at this stage, we cannot go on, my son, forever. So you all,
Forever, yeah.
yeah, you all take the matter forward, and what have you. So we come to the point of talking about lessons now. We're talking about,
Mm.
as we go along, we want to bring our audience to the point. Just think about that. Is why I've always defined literature as life. Literature is life. Everything, everything in the sphere of life is found in literature, because it
Yeah.
brings in psychology, it brings in philosophy, it brings in economics, it brings in so many other things. So that if you part of what you do is devoting yourself to reading good literature thereabout, you are going to get things that take you through life in a very, because every time you are somewhere, you are reflecting. You are not asleep, you are not talking to anybody, you are just listening out. There are things that you are thinking about. In literature, if you get so involved in literature, those things that come to your mind, they will be to a large extent drawn from literature.
Yeah. I mean, Psalm of life. It is a Psalm of life. Trust
Yeah,
no future,
yeah,
however
yeah,
pleasant.
yes,
Let the dead past bury its dead.
yes,
Trust in the living present.
yes,
Those are things that, those are life's lessons.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. One of the poems that used to scare me was Emily Dickinson's "Because I Could Not Stop for Death, It Kindly Stopped for Me." I'm like, oh no. I was so afraid of that
Yeah,
poem, Bob.
Emily
Yeah.
Dickinson, that woman there, that woman there. A lot of her poems, over 1,000 pieces. A lot of her poems did not come to light until one of her in-laws was able to find them under her bed.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
all wrapped up and all that, and he took them from under the bed, and lo and behold, the gold, the diamond, and all those things, those
Yeah.
poems are projected. Yeah.
Yeah, she had time to write. You see, that woman, she never married, so that's good. She had time to-
Well, that broken heart got out that way, don't mind.
That's true. That's true. And I went to her house in
You
Amherst.
did? Oh,
I even sat. They have a statue of her outside. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So we could progress to books, but
yeah,
there's a poem written by an African, John Pepper Clark.
yeah. JP.
Yeah, yeah, and many people don't know the poem, but I like it because it also tells the Liberian condition. People say, "Oh, the war finished. The people die, so and so," and John Pepper Clark is saying, "Though the casualties of war,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
they're not the people who
Yeah,
died."
yes.
So I wanted to read just a little bit.
Yeah, why
He
not?
says, he
Yes.
said the casualties are not only those who are dead,
Mhm.
they are well out of it.
Yes.
The casualty are not only those who are dead,
Mhm.
though they await burial by installment.
Hmm.
The casualties are not only those who are lost, persons or property, hard
Hmm.
as it is to grope for a touch that some may not know is not there.
Oh.
The casualties are not only those led away by night.
Hmm.
The cell is a cruel place, sometimes a haven.
Yes.
The casualties are not only those who started a fire and now cannot put it out.
Hmm.
thousands are burning that have no say in the matter.
Yeah.
The casualties are not only those who are escaping.
Hmm.
The shadow shall become prisoners.
Hmm.
The casualties are many and a good number as well outside the scenes of ravage and wreck.
Hmm.
They are the emissaries of
Hmm.
rift.
Hmm.
So smug in smoke rooms, they hunt abroad. They do not see the
Hmm.
funeral pyres at home eating up the forest.
Oh.
They are wandering minstrels who, beating on the drums of the human heart, draw the world into a dance with rites it does not know.
Hmm.
The drums overwhelm the guns, caught in a clash of counterclaims. We fall.
Hmm.
We are all casualties of the war because we cannot hear each other speak.
Hmm.
And I
See,
thought that, I thought that that was really something, that the casualty of war are not those who are dead. They are
no,
out of it.
they are well out
Yeah,
of it. Yes.
yeah.
Again, we're talking about the extent to which pieces of literature magnetize all humanity. You know, anybody who tasted the war in Liberia or tasted the war in any of those places, even Kosovo and all those places there in Europe. You know, the thing about it is that you read that poem and you talk about the casualties and you see how those who have died, they are well out of it. And yet there are other groupings of casualties that he talks about. And I think that the casualty of the mind happen to be the most tragic of it all, because until you are dead, you will never so easily, until you are dead, you never so easily forget the war, what's happened to you and what's happened to other people that you know. So the casualties, they seem not to be a limit to the list of those who become casualties of any war.
Yeah, and he's that's what he says. He says that, and he said the emissaries of rift
Mm-hmm.
are those people who carry the news.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they sit in their smug houses and they
Yes.
carry the news. Say, oh,
Mm-hmm.
that other person there,
Yeah. Yeah.
that other person there. So they are
Sometimes
emissaries of rift.
sometimes some of those who are telling the stories are people who were actors in such war, but because
Yes,
they were never seen, they go abroad and begin to talk about other people like the stories are not running out.
yeah. So let's talk something nice. Let's talk about love poems.
Love poems. What is
Sonnet
love
18.
really? Yes.
Sonnet 18 by William Shakespeare. Sonnet 18. Shall
Okay.
I compare thee to a summer's
Yeah.
day?
Uh-huh. Yes. You
Yeah,
have it there. Yes. Mm-hmm.
no, but this guy, Shakespeare, he knew how to write poems.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So
Yes.
shall I compare thee to a summer's day that are more lovely and
Yes.
more temperate?
Yes.
That rough winds do shake the darling buds of May. And then
Yes.
he goes on. He said, "When in eternity's line to time thou growest, so long as men can breathe or eyes can see, so long lives this, and this gives life to thee."
Mhm.
So he talks about love. So that's
And
a good poem.
talking about this, that's one of the test questions that often come. What is this word this? So long live this, and they
Oh, and this gives life to thee, you mean?
yes,
What does it mean?
uh, uh, you group those things and you find out that this is the preservative power of literature, the preservative power of literature. Literature preserves a number of things. And in that poem, that this is reference to the very poem that we are reading, that as long as this poem lives on, definitely that person's the celebration of that person's beauty and love will never so easily fade. So long live this, and this gives
Let's give life to thee. Okay, so Prof, we've talked a lot about poetry, but
mhm.
let's come a little bit about books,
Yeah.
right? There are some
Well,
books that are so
probably talking about, let's talk about stories or talk about what, because you have a book of poems now. So so if you want to talk about maybe a novel or
okay, yeah. Well, when we say literary pieces,
yeah,
right?
okay, very good.
So
Hmm.
so I guess in Liberia we say, oh, one of the most profound books that you can read a lot into it is Murder in Cassava Patch,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And
Yes.
there are a lot of writers coming out now. So what is one of the books that's very significant. I mean, that's timeless. We talk about timeless and it being a classic, but
Mm-hmm.
books that teach people, like To Kill a Mockingbird,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, To Kill a Mockingbird or Animal Farm,
Yeah.
right?
Animal
Yeah,
Farm.
Animal Farm. Let's talk a little bit about. I like Animal Farm, bro.
Farm, yes. Animal Farm. You know, the thing about it is this whole context of hypocrisy. They you you don't want something and yet you want it. The animals, they decide that Junes has to go.
June's got to go. And for those who haven't read the book, June's is the farmer.
Yeah, yeah. Who was
Yeah, who
supposed
was
to
very
be
bad.
their owner? Yeah, who was
The
supposed to
owner,
be?
yeah.
Yeah, yeah, owner. And so, shortly after the oldest peak in the group there, few days after he tells his dream that one fine day, this whole place will belong to you, animals and what have you, the poor soul dies.
Yes.
And almost immediately it's like, oh, you mean the prophecy has come to
That's come
fruition
true.
that way? Yes, that's right. And
Yeah.
so they take it off from there and decide that they are going to uproot Jones. And then comes, because in any setting now, there have to be rules set up. So all of a sudden the pigs, they become the automatic head, and they set the rules up, and that's where the trouble begins. Because after they set the rules up now, gradually all the rules they are set up, anything that falls, that walks on four legs is a friend and what have you, then things.
And yeah, because Napoleon, and look at the name he gave himself, Napoleon. Because first they started with 4 legs bad, 2 legs good.
Yeah.
I mean 4 legs good, 2 legs bad.
Yes.
Yeah, because the man walked on 2 legs, so he was bad.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden the pigs, they started sleeping in the house, wearing clothes,
sleeping on beds and everything.
Yeah, and the other people and the other animals started saying, "But wait now, what's happening here?" And then they said, so there was all animals are equal.
Yes.
And then as time went on, they say some animals are more equal than other animals, right?
But wait until Napoleon and the other guy, they made sure one of the dogs had
puppies.
Puppies. And what did they do? They hid all the puppies and put them somewhere where they trained them. Eventually, they became the soldiers in the place there. Once they put everything in place now, security and everything tight or what have you, then they went on. They went to doing their messy things around there now.
Yeah. So George Orwell was really prophetic in many ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, this is just a satiric piece on the human beings, right? They love power.
Just a fable over there.
Yeah, a fable. And then it's like when they get into power, they make the rules that will benefit them.
Yeah.
And then you have people like I think the donkey or the horse who kept working. If I only work harder, if I only work harder, And then you have Squealer and the other people and the other animals, and they just keep, and then at the end, when you look from man to animal and animal to man, there was no difference.
In fact, it took off really when they had produced crops and all that kind of thing now, and then these guys at the head now started trading with human beings again. Those
and the others,
from downtown, they said that trouble coming here, that this is trouble coming. And so at the end of it all, when Napoleon and all those guys, when they are in the ballroom and the other animals are tiptoeing, to see what is going on in there, and Napoleon is in there, having wine and everything.
Prancing.
Yeah.
And you couldn't tell the difference, But
No, it's like this guy saying, you see what I see? All these things we were doing so that these guys were making fool out of us around here, right? Mm.
Yeah, and the thing was, like he said, he kept looking from man to animal, from
Yeah,
animal to
yeah,
man, and he couldn't
yeah.
tell the
You
difference
can tell the
because they
difference.
had become almost the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
But
same.
it's the same George Orwell
Hmm.
who gave us 1984,
Yeah. Hmm. The
right?
Big Brother.
About yeah, Big Brother watching this government
Mhm.
that knows everything about
Yeah,
you,
yeah,
and
yeah.
not only does it know everything about you,
Mhm.
it's going to make you question what you know.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
it's going to make you double think. And
yes.
I always talk about that because I say, let's say you know that something is bad in your upbringing. You say, oh, my mom taught me this, or my father taught me this.
Mm-hmm.
But then the state, Big Brother says, oh, no, 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 it's not really bad. What you
Mm-hmm.
think is bad is not really bad.
Uh-huh.
And then you,
Mm.
because you don't have the courage of your convictions, you
Yes,
start to
yes,
think, you say, oh, but wait now,
yes.
was this thing really bad? Maybe it wasn't bad. And we're talking about bad things. So you
Yeah,
start
yeah.
to question
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
what they call double think,
Yes,
like most of the things that were happening during I guess the past regime in
yes.
America. You
Mm-hmm.
start to think, but is this really bad?
But
If they can justify it, so
sadly, it
George
continues.
Orwell in 1984 is telling you, Big Brother is watching.
Yes.
He's watching you, and he knows what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Because Prof, it's very easy for a country to slip into authoritarianism.
Yeah.
Because when you start putting the cameras up, you say, oh, it's for your own protection.
Mm-hmm.
When you start saying, oh, we want to listen to the telephone, oh, it's
Yeah.
for your own protection.
Yeah.
When Facebook say, oh, give us access to your iPhone, you say it's
Yeah.
for our own protection.
Yes.
And little by little, you give these liberties
Mm-hmm.
away,
Mm-hmm.
until at the end, there's nothing that you can
Yeah.
safeguard,
Yes.
and that's what George Orwell is saying, that,
Mm-hmm.
that you think that you're giving up, or this, but what you're really giving up is yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which actually comes to the point. I mean, you said a part of that earlier on, that there has to be at an early age, there has to be the establishing of a northern star.
Yes.
There has to be the establishing of something that is at your core, that
Yes.
nobody. So we talk about worldview. If you have a strong, constructive worldview, definitely a lot of things that are bound to happen after you establish that point, those things will not so easily move you. But if
Yes.
you are flippant, if you are cavalier and what have you, then definitely anybody can, just about like they say, buy you for 1 cent and destroy you. And that's part of what is happening today. So your worldview, if it is not grounded in, well, religion, grounded in philosophy and all that kind of thing, I tend to kind of hold back a little when I talk about religion, because actually uh, there are people who take the wrong pigmentation of religion, so that they see almost everything through that, even if it is ridiculous, even if that belief, even if that thinking is so ridiculous, they tend to follow it throughout, and that can become problematic in the end.
Yeah, and for those of you who don't know the reference, the Northern Star, during slavery, when the enslaved people were trying to get to the north, they followed that star.
Yeah.
It took them to freedom. So the Northern Star is the one consistent thing that
Yes.
they follow. So that's why I mean, I have some people in my life, I call them my Northern Star, and that's because they put me in check.
Yes.
Yeah. So, oh, sorry, my cat. Come on, pussy. So she's one of my Northern Stars.
All right now.
Yeah.
All right.
So anyway, and that's what we're talking about, and that's why we say that, what if people can say blood will out?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they say blood will out. It means that your upbringing will tell.
Yeah.
So that's why we keep saying that, books really ground you, and books show you that, there's really nothing new under the sun.
Yeah.
What you think is, oh, I would die for love. Well,
Mhm.
there's Romeo and Juliet. Oh, the woman is
Okay.
bad. My wife is bad. There's Lady Macbeth.
Yes.
The
Ouch,
man can
ouch.
give me the money. There's Shylock. So there's nothing under the
Yes.
sun that hasn't happened before. So that's what we're discussing. So, Prof, tell us, what are maybe two books that really, really, really have been significant in your life?
That's hard hitting.
I said two. We want no book we don't know. We want books that
Yes.
we know.
Oh, oh, you see trouble now. You see trouble. He's in- no, the, Jackie, you have arrested me. But
Oh,
there, if you talk about the upper limits of books, uh, Dante and his Inferno,
oh,
you know, the the sins, the cardinal sins today that people talk about in Catholic Church, talk about the idea that somebody, as we say, writers of old, the idea is kind of wearing out now, but writers of old were believed to have been communicating with call them heavenly angels. At another point, we call them the muses. How those people were able to a kind of observe nature in such a way that they will produce ideas that became so timeless. You will look at that. You will look at that and see what is meant by critical ideas that people have been able to give out. The 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 scenes that mortal scenes that Dante talk about through talking about his Inferno and going through moving from the physical world and going underground and what have you, and meeting those people, the suffering and all that they had to undergo because of certain sins that they may have committed, and that sort of a thing brings out something to make you celebrate what the thinking mind has got to be. When even, for instance, Plato gets in his Republic and begins to talk about the division of labor in society, those who are supposed to be soldiers, those who are supposed to be the movers in society and what have you, then you sit down and begin to ask yourself, where did these people get these ideas to be able to put them together, that overall some disciplines, some career disciplines have been able to be carved from there. You talk about politics, political science, and all those kind of things. So here I talk about Dante and the whole idea of sin. I talk about and heaven and hell, for instance, which comes out of the work he set out to do. I'm talking about the Dante guy, and we talk about Plato, and you talk about his Republic and what have you. Those things should be able to tell you again, celebrating the power of the human mind. And then the idea is that it cannot be. It's like saying these things we are talking about, no man in flesh and blood has taught you them. They must come from above. They must come from the muses, and therefore anyone who is of that creative mind must be someone set aside, must be someone celebrated and what have you.
so those are your two books,
Yeah,
Plato's
just are two of them. Yes.
Republic and Dante's
Dante's
Inferno.
Inferno. Yes.
And Dante Inferno, they're having I told you, an exhibition at the Johnson Art Museum in Ithaca at Cornell. I'll take pictures, Prof.
Oh, please do that. And there Dante also celebrates his girl Beatrice. You cannot talk about Dante without, you cannot talk about Inferno, finish it without talking about his girl, Dante's girl, Beatrice.
Okay. So Stephen. Okay, let's look at some comments. So we can see what people are saying. Fanon Roland said that poem is one of my best poems. Which one is that? Oh, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Okay. Aliyu said this is an informative show. Thank you, Aliyu. Dennis says, thank you, Prof. and Jackie, for this free teaching session. I encourage our viewers to take advantage. I wonder if Dennis is there. He can tell us what is his favorite book. Very nice. Stephen Keller says, I heard a tribe in Nigeria speak in parables. I'm not sure if they still do, but
But
delving into the minds of others always gave me peace. The
but
Igbos speak in parables
but
sometimes.
no, but the thing about it, Jackie, it, parables really are the stuff African languages are made of. And of course, you can talk about Chinese and what have you, but he just mentioned something about Africa. That's what I'm saying. Think about any ethnic group in Africa, and you will see a long list of proverbs and parables that they speak in. Who is this now? Jackie, what is
Is
that?
that is there?
What is that?
No, Stephen Keller said that is so true. Many Liberians fear the pen. If they embrace the world, we have many sad, triumphant, and unique stories from the war. I totally agree with you, Stephen. Yeah, you know, Prof. Is even in Dante. It says he says he's talking to the exile, right? He said you
Yeah.
would know how bitter it is to climb someone else's stairs. And I
Uh-huh.
always use that when I'm writing my paper on migration. You know
Uh,
that we are basically in exile if you look at it. And Stephen says he enjoyed Animal Farm. It's like many leaders and cultures today, we create moral laws that benefit us.
uh-huh.
Exactly. Yes. So to our audience, you could list some of the books that you think, um, some of your best books, and we see if we know them, if you have the time, right, Prof?
Yes. The one of the let me just say one of the the African writers who at an early age of mine made an impression on me was Ayekwe Ama. Ayekwe Ama
Yes.
said, "This one, beautiful ones are not yet born." I'm sure the beautiful years, the beautiful ones are not yet born. Which kind of depicted the overthrow of Kwame Nkrumah. Yes, but the way the guy would describe things, Jackie, this guy will go to the gutters trying to to describe something to just hold your attention when he was describing something about saliva. Like for instance, this the key fellow in that novel who is he is simply called the man. He's called the man, and this guy he refuses to take bribes and all that kind of a thing. And so when the coup occurs and people are jumping up and down, he refuses to pay mind to all that. But there is a key thing in that novel. The wife wanted him to a kind of wallow in corruption as his friends were doing. And because he refused to do that, every time he went home, the wife ridiculed him. But when the coup occurred, and those who have been going around, flaunting money and all that kind of a thing, uh, one of them came and begged her to hide him under their bed and what have you. And when the husband now comes in from work, the woman goes to his ear and says, "I'm glad you didn't get into that mess." I'm glad. See your man. See your man who I thought was a great guy. See him shaking like a leaf under our bed. I'm glad you didn't follow him to get into corruption as well. And you think the man even look at him? The man just passed by. I mean, the man just passed by her and
Yeah.
went in their room.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree with Stephen Keller. You know that there's so many stories that came out of the war. You know, and that like he says, if people would just start writing, they will embrace the pen, as he calls it.
Mm.
There will be a lot of unique stories. I mean, not just from the war, but the lived experience.
Yeah.
Um, in your in Dante's Inferno,
Yeah.
right? And he's talking about exile,
Yes.
right? And one of the quotes that I really it moves me is when he says, And I feel that we, not just Liberians, but those who are kind of like in exile away from their homeland. He says, "You shall leave everything you love
Mhm.
most dearly.
Mhm.
This is the arrow that the bow of exile shoots first.
Mhm.
You are to know the bitter taste of others' bread, how salt it is, and knows how hard a path it is for one who goes ascending
Mhm.
and descending other people's stairs."
Yeah.
And I always, when I say that, he say, "You shall leave everything you love most dearly." That is the arrow that the bow of exile shoots first.
Mhm.
you know because the act of exile is to leave, right? You are
And
leaving.
and there is something that, whether you like it or not, compels you to leave.
Yes, yes.
There's
But
something that's the force.
that's what what's his name? That's what Ali Mazuri says. Ali Mazuri says, you have the people say, "Oh, you have the pull in factor." K Moses number, you went to America, the pull in factor America, that money,
Mhm.
then you say, no, 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 you don't understand. There's also the push out factor,
Yes.
which
Yeah.
is crime,
Yeah.
no health care,
Yes.
corruption,
Mhm.
bad governance.
Mhm.
So,
Armed
so,
robbery
so,
and all those
yeah.
things that
So
keep
that's what
you restless.
and that's what Ali Mazuri says. He says, yes, there's pull-in factors, but sometimes the push-out factors are
Mhm.
more.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be a stranger in somebody
Mhm.
else's country.
Nobody, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
nobody. Yeah,
Becky,
yeah.
that's what it is, and that's why you walk around and someone eats whatever he or she wants to eat and tells you go back to your home and say you
Yeah,
don't know this thing, you don't know
yeah,
life, you don't
yeah,
know life.
yeah. But yeah, I think that there are books that leave an imprint in you. I mean,
Mhm.
on you. Like I said, The Eyes Were Watching God is one that I really,
Mhm.
that I mean, it's just a little book,
Yeah,
but it's very significant. Another one is uh, what is it? The Gift of the Sea.
yeah,
Yeah, by Lindbergh. It's absolutely, it's a little book that is just a short book. She took a break from her life to go and live on the beach,
yeah,
and she's taking all these seashells. She's finding these little seashells and things, and she's writing, like, each one is unique in its own way,
yeah,
and she's equating each aspect of her life to this seashell,
yeah,
but she does it so beautifully, and it is almost like an anthem for women who are, I would say, to that two roads.
yeah, that's right.
Yes, women are at the two roads. So she needed a break from her life, from her marriage, from her children, and so she took time off on this beach to go and live on this beach. And then she's at this crossroads. Do I walk away? Do I return?
Mhm.
And so the book is more short chapters,
Hmm.
very short chapters of questioning your life.
Yeah, you're at a
And
crossroads.
yeah, you're at the crossroad. You're taking stock
Mhm.
of this. Yeah. So it's The Gift of the Sea is really a good book. I
Mhm.
would urge. I always like to give it to people for Christmas, because I
Mhm.
urge people. January is coming. It's a new beginning.
Mhm.
So read The Gift of the Sea. So those are the two books that I like. And Stephen Keller say he likes the Alchemist. And okay, and he will also add Atlas Shrugged by Ayn Rand.
Oh,
And this is Francis Wilson's favorite book, Atlas Shrugged. So
okay.
I'm going to read this book. Prof, we have to read this book.
Alice
We
Trump.
discuss it with Stephen and with Sis Francis, because Sis Francis has been saying that we should read this book.
Mm.
She said that, "I can't believe you guys haven't read this book."
But
So we should
how
read.
would she know that it hasn't been read or something like that?
Because she
So
asked
just
me.
to
She
say,
asked me one time. She asked me
oh,
one time on the show, and I said, "No, I haven't read it." And she said, "What? I've heard of it, but I haven't read it." So I think that we'll read
but,
it and we can
but-
discuss it. We can invite Stephen and Francis to
and
come on the
Francis will
show and
come and be
discuss it.
part of it, right?
Yes, and
Uh,
discuss it. Yes, we've
there,
been urging people
mm,
to do that. Yeah.
there is another book um, by Henry David Thoreau on Walden Pond.
Oh,
On
okay.
Walden Pond, when I read that, one of few cardinal things that stuck with me happened to be the the noise we make about the world, about things we need to bring into our immediate confines, about materialism and all that kind of a thing. And key thing he says about life is of such that you need to take only the essentials. In fact, uh, on the basis of the essentials of life, I one of the essays that I wrote in "Lick Them to the Bone," a, col- "Lick Them to the Bone," a collection of short stories. I mean, a collection of essays and poems. Really struck at that. We went into war, and all of a sudden, all the nutritious dishes we used to dream about, all the we will go to. Uh, I want to eat myself. I got to go and find a commode and everything. All those things vanish, and anywhere you wanted, you did your thing and move on and other kind of thing. And then I started laughing. I said, "That's what this guy said. You know, be able at all times to take only the essentials out of life, and those are the things you need to run with." And then uh, what is his name? Ernest Hemingway, a book, a biography done on him titled Papa Hemingway. Hemingway. And in there is one statement. He says, "Our fear of death is increased by the huge number of things we gather around ourselves. How we leave
Yes,
them to go into another part of the another universe, or something of that sort, another place. We never so easily do that." And that statement too meant so much to me. Our fear of death, or
it's
our, yeah,
because we own too many things.
yes, our fear of death is increased by the number of worldly things we gather around ourselves and what have you. Papa Hemingway. Yeah. Anyway.
There's a poem that I really like, is from Derek Walcott. I have it framed on when I come into my house.
Yes.
I have one by Dennis Brutus, and I love that one because he autographed it for me when he came to Cornell. But a poem that I really love by
Mm,
Dennis Walcott, "Love After Love." It
mhm,
says, "The time will come when, with elation, you will greet yourself arriving at your own door,
mhm,
in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome
mhm,
and say, 'Sit here, eat.' You will love again the stranger who was yourself.
mhm,
Give wine, give bread, give back your heart to itself, to the stranger who has loved you all your life,
mhm,
whom you ignored for
mhm,
another, who
mhm,
knows you by heart.
mhm,
Take down the love letters from the bookshelf, the photograph, the desperate notes. Peel your own image from the mirror.
mhm.
Sit, feast on your life."
Oh God.
I love that.
Sometimes even the one or two lines that are repeated throughout the poem, you never so easily forget them.
Yes, you come into you see yourself in the mirror,
Mhm.
and yourself is saying to yourself, "Take back yourself. You've ignored me long enough." Throw those desperate notes, move the love letters. It's
Yes.
our time, you and yourself. So sit, feast on
Yes.
your life.
It's
And Derek Walcott is a South African.
uh,
Yeah, he's a South African poet.
it's more of what one of the things that social work teaches. In social work, you are told, yes, you go out there for other people and what have you, but never forget yourself. If you
Yes,
forget about yourself, you get burnout.
yes.
And a burnout social worker is not the best person to face other people to serve them. You'll be grumbling and all that kind of a thing. Yeah.
So we will close with with one of the poems that people read when they're retiring.
Uh,
But one day we will go home and we'll read this poem in anticipation. It's by Ralph and Waldo Emerson. It's called Goodbye.
Okay.
Goodbye, proud world. I'm going home.
Oh.
Thou art not my friend, and I'm not thine. Long through thy weary crowds I roam, a river arc on the ocean brine. Long I've been tossed
Hmm.
like the driven foam, but
Hmm.
now, proud world, I'm going home.
Oh God.
I'm going to my own hearthstone,
Hmm.
bosom in yon hills
Hmm.
alone.
Hmm.
And he says, oh, when I'm safe in my home, I tread on the pride of Greece and Rome.
Hmm.
I laugh at the law and the pride of man. For
Hmm.
what are they all in their high conceit
Hmm.
when men in the bush with God may meet?
Wow.
So goodbye, proud world. We're going home. We'll go home. Yes,
Uh,
but it's really interesting, Prof, that
yes.
no matter what they write, it is like we know this, we've
Yes.
lived this. And
Yes.
I guess that's what we talk about when we talk about the timelessness of
Yes.
classics.
Yes.
You know, that classic literature is literature regardless of where it is written.
Yes.
Yeah, that the words stand the test of time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's really, it's I mean, it's like when I see all the hullabaloo of
Yes.
the framework document, I say Ozymandias, because that's what so it comforts, it
Yes.
gives you security in knowing that other cultures, other
Yes.
countries have gone through this
Yes.
and they've come out on the other side, and we will too come
Yes.
out on the other side. Yeah.
Yes.
So last comments, Prof. And Stephen Keller will be checking you and Sis Francis for Atlas
Yes.
Shrugged. Don't forget. Yeah, Prof.
Yeah.
We've reached another hour. We've gone over another hour. We have about 20 people watching, and we
Yeah.
always say we are here to discuss whether it's one person
Yeah.
or 25.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to discuss. We're going to have a good time. We're going to have a
Yeah.
relaxing Friday.
Yes.
We'll even bring some wine sometimes.
And
But
let's
we
put the music
always come,
on.
in good faith.
Yeah.
Sometimes don't see Prophet I sitting here. Sometimes we argue,
That's part
but
of
we
it.
never.
That's part of it now. That's part of it.
Yeah,
You
but
you
we are
don't
here
want
to
to
learn.
make your conversations sound so monotonous or so
Yes,
monolithic. It has to be coming from so many areas, and that kind of explodes your mind into other things. What we did today, if I may uh, make my final submission, what we did today is more of even talking about a book club. You come into a setting and you are discussing some pieces of literature and the impressions it may have made on you. Sometimes the only way you remember a book is one or two sentences that meant so much to you. Sometimes it is a word that meant so much to you and you run with it. Sometimes it is a character, as it is in Mind Boy, Peter
oh yeah,
Abrahams,
Peter
where
Abrahams. Yeah,
this Johannes is always I'll kill this son of a bitch, that sort of a thing, and he goes on. Yes, those it may be characters, as I said, it may be words, it may be phrases, it may be sentences,
yeah.
it may just be one that.
It could be out damn spot.
Yeah, yeah, that's what, right? Yeah, she's Macbeth, little Macbeth. Yeah, it may be something like that to make you laugh a little. That's what it is. Sometimes your day is so much a bland one, but there's something in there that just reaches to you and you never so easily forget it. Who is this person now? Sounds like
Willett Dunbar say it sounds like prose and poetry. I savored 7th through 12th grade. Thank you so much.
oh
Thank
yeah,
you for listening to us, Willett.
yeah.
We're just here to chill and
Yeah,
talk.
I know, that's what it is.
Yeah.
So thank
And
you.
sometimes
Yes.
sometimes, no, sorry, I'm sorry to interrupt. Continue.
No, go ahead. No. I mean, it's each one completing the other. That's what it is. Yes, you're saying
Yeah,
something.
no. I was saying that, I mean, you're right. When there are some things you read and they're from books, but they stick to you. Like Merchant of Venice, right? He
Yes,
says,
yes.
if you cut me, do I not bleed?
Okay, all right.
You know, yeah.
Yes,
Or Lady Macbeth, when she finished
yeah.
doing her role, even that's out, then spat out.
It's stuck with you. We will never so
Yeah.
easily leave it.
Or
Ah,
Hamlet, to be or not to
not
be.
to be, yes,
That
that
is
is
the
the
question.
question. Mm-hmm.
So we kind of like, I mean, of course there are books that stick with you,
Mm-hmm.
and Prof and I sometimes we come here, we just don't want to not come, and we say, Prof, we're just going to talk today.
Yeah,
People will join us.
yeah,
Some people, they need a break,
yeah.
and they'll come in.
Mm-hmm.
And then sometimes again we find historical pieces that we want to talk about, historical
Yeah,
events,
yeah,
and then sometimes again we come just to, well, we have a writer, an author, and we want to interview the
yeah,
author.
yeah,
So we've been saying this for a long time, that it's good to have a book club. CNN did something on it where there are people in Europe
yeah,
reading the same book as people in Nigeria,
yeah,
and then they meet on Zoom to discuss the books.
yeah.
And we've done that. Uh, I'm reading for auspicious shores now. And I think probably I will discuss that one time, but it's for a class, but it's also fun to talk about, to discuss it. So if you feel that there's a book you want to suggest
Awesome.
for a book club, feel free to do it.
Yeah,
If you just want to come and write down something,
yeah.
feel free to do it.
Feel
We're
free.
here 6 o'clock every Friday, and winter is coming, so I know you guys not going anywhere. So you,
We'll just keep you indoors.
yeah,
Yes, quarantine
because
you. Mm,
I will know that sometimes on Friday it's very difficult for you to
mm.
stay and listen to us. But when winter comes, you're not going
Yes,
anywhere.
you're not
You
going
will be here.
anywhere.
Yeah. So we want to tell you thank you for joining us. We want to tell you that whether it's the road not taken,
Mm-hmm.
whether it's Ozymandias,
Mm-hmm.
it's Plato's cave,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is what is that book called? Dr. Higgin's experiment.
Oh, Dr. Heidegger's experiment. Oh,
Higgin's
yeah, you got that right.
experiment.
Yeah, that is a short story, Dr. Heidegger's experiment. Yes.
Yeah, so you guys can read it and we can discuss it, whether it's Animal Farm,
Uh-huh.
whether is My Fair Lady, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's what is it called? Sonnet 18.
Uh-huh.
Whatever you read,
Mm-hmm.
whether
Mm-hmm.
is Atlas Shrugged,
Yes.
we are all Liberians, and we want to keep that in mind. Lift the country up. We always say, there's no country that is 100% bad.
Mm-hmm. That's
So lift Liberia
100%.
up, and when you lift it up to a higher expectation, it will try to meet the expectations that you have for the country. So we thank you for joining us. We say mask up. Tell your friends and loved ones to take the vaccine and mask up. If you have to take the booster, please take the booster. We'll see you next week. And just remember that we are all Liberians and we are striving for this one place that we call home.
Yeah.
Thank you and good night. Good night, Prof.
Yes, Jackie.
Yeah. Okay. Let me see if I can try and do this. They're laughing at me now, I know, but let me try and see if I can I can do this. I think I can because I don't think Dennis is here. So you guys, good night.
We are Labira. Labira is our home. Labira people. Evaluate all we want. Labira, oh. Evaluate all we want. Labira, Labira.